So another week, another work shift has passed by. I've decided against having the mechanic work on HQ's driver's side front wheel. So what I'm gonna have to do is have it towed elsewhere. And on top of that, the ground branch I was looking at has been taken off the market. It is no longer an option for me. So I'm gonna have to exhaust a few other options to find HQ's ground branch elsewhere, hopefully in the same area that I was looking at. But I have to stack up the capital so that way I'm making sure that I'm getting the place and I'm keeping some money in my pocket left over to survive after I cop it. But until then, I'm hanging out in this Airbnb over by my work site for the following week, or for the current week, until it's time to work again. And until it's time to work again, we're artists. So when I talk about being an artist, I'm going to show you a few of the things that I've been doing for the new DM update, considering that I haven't actually posted about DM in a while. But because DM takes place in the future, I needed to register as future without being completely disconnected from reality. And this is strictly visual sci-fi. This isn't world building sci-fi or social sci-fi or anything of the sort. It's mainly just how sci-fi hits at a glance. And the first thing I would say is no inventing nonsense, but work with evolved familiarity. The first example that comes to mind, because it's near and dear to my heart, very nostalgic for me, would have to be Master Chief or the entire UNSC aesthetic from the jump. So when you see it, it already looks like something that could exist today. It looks like the natural progression of the modern military complex. So, decades later, and again, there's plenty of context that add to why this guy hits later, but Hugh from Pragmata. See, he works on site because there's already been decades of visual programming through media as to how sci-fi characters can look, should look, or will look, and he doesn't look too far off from the Master Chief. Change his color palette to white and make him look like an astronaut as opposed to green for military, but then he still has the power armor and the removable, retractable visors and such. So he's accepted on site in our heads as people that already registers as, oh, this can exist. Oh, I've seen that before. Oh, that makes sense. That's what makes good visual sci-fi. So, coming back to Declan Moses, what I want to show you is how I go about making sci-fi firearms, because I genuinely enjoy doing that. And I had just recently recorded myself modeling the new assault rifle for Declan Moses. So we're gonna get into that. Delete the default cube, import your reference image, set the opacity to something workable, and then you're gonna add a cube. From there, I simply go into edit mode and start tracing out the general silhouette of the Groza's pieces. And as you can see, it's way too thick to be a gun. And anytime you want to find like the thickness of something, you can find something that's definite. So what's definite about a gun is the barrel always being a circle. So when you create a circle and then make it the same size as the actual barrel in the reference image, you will have a general gist of how thick the gun should be. You can also use secondary images from other perspectives to gather the thickness idea. But for the most part, again, it's a sci-fi rendition. I'm not being faithful to the original material because it's lame as fuck. And by the end of it, you're gonna end up with something like I did here, where I added a rectangular integral suppressor and extended the carry handle. I even made some changes beyond this afterwards, but overall, Declan Moses has a new assault rifle. Another thing that I thought would be cool to go over is how I create droning ambient sounds for the background. Now, what would typically happen is if you have a sound effect that is some length of time, and then you just let it ride, by the time you get to this point and loop it, there's a bit of oddness. You can tell when the sound effect loops and starts over from the top. So I could show you how I go about that, because Declan Moses is a very audio-heavy game. So first step, you're gonna find the ambient sound that you want. I needed a silent room for when all the music is done and nobody's screaming or yelling. So I recorded it in Audacity, I trimmed the fat, and then I split the clip somewhere in the middle. And then I put the ass end, or the beginning in the ass end, and the ass end toward the beginning. Select that little segment where the split is, adjust the decibels until you get 0, because I can edit that in Unity. And using the crossfade, you're able to basically stitch them together and create a seamless sound effect that drones on and on and on. It will loop seamlessly, thus giving the atmosphere of a silent room without the awkward, oh, the sound effect ended, let's just play it from the beginning. Now, that's cool and all. I dig that little piece. And then the last one I wanted to talk to you about was how I'm doing the outlines. So for the outlines, I'm not somebody to write shaders, so this is more of a product placement than anything. I had ended up going with a third-party solution that I had found on the asset store, and it's called Line Work, Outlines, and Edge Detection. I'm using the Edge Detection solution, and basically what you do is you create a second UV map, you select your mesh, or faces actually, and then you adjust it according to this grid of red squares, and you put the faces wherever you want different, outlines to be apparent. So as you can see, I did that in Blender, and now looking at it, you're seeing the outlines on this TV after I had just adjusted the second set of UVs. The first set of UVs is where the textures are displayed, and it's a very subtle effect that adds a lot of character and identity to the game. You've seen this in Telltale games, or maybe even The Walking Dead. Wait, The Walking Dead is a Telltale game. What's the other one I'm thinking about? Borderlands. You've seen it in a few other games. Cell shading has been around for ages. So I'm sitting here editing this, and I'd like to correct myself. Not all games with black outlines around the game objects are cell shaded. Most of the time, cell shading would refer to the lighting model and how colors are presented to the player, and typically that does come with a black outline. If there is a black outline, I don't know what else, if there is a label for it, it really just looks cool, and I think it reinforces the hand-drawn look that I'm going for. It's just a matter of using it effectively and conducively to the art style you have planned, and in my case with Declan Moses, it's more of a narrative device. And that's pretty much all that I wanted to talk about in terms of what I've gotten done recently, or not even gotten done recently, more so what I've recorded me getting done recently, right? But beyond that,